Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So today I wanted us to discuss why RWBY should not have actually been trained in hand-to-hand combat. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say a couple things. If my audio sounds different, it's because I had to get a new mic, so hopefully it sounds fine. So if it sounds any different, it's because I had to get a new mic, so I hope you all understand. But anyways, so without further ado, sit back, relax, I hope you all enjoy, and let's go ahead and jump right on into this discussion. So, of course, there's been a lot of talk about how RWBY needs to have hand-to-hand combat and better experience without her weapon. But if you actually look back upon RWBY's fights, she's actually done very well. I mean, yeah, she's not perfect, and no, she hasn't, automatically just mollywopped everybody she's been up against. But to be fair, RWBY has done very well for herself and her fighting style. As a matter of fact, going back to it, thinking about what Ozpin said whenever they first met is that, using a scythe is a very deadly weapon. And of course, Crow and Ozpin apparently now think that she needs hand-to-hand combat out of nowhere, and realistically, I don't really think it's as bad as they're really making this out to be, because although, it seems that RWBY has not had a whole lot of experience of fighting, or at least from the way they're putting it when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, but she's actually done pretty well for herself. There's even a funny statement that is actually brought up in Volume 5 whenever, they go into the Hall of Haven, and obviously Lionheart is surprised to see that everybody brought their weapons, and Crow says, "We're huntsmen." Basically implying that, hey, we have to have our weapons, or terrible things will obviously happen to us. And that's kind of a point there, is that obviously RWBY has done very well on her own with her own weapons. And looking at other characters, each character is going to have their own fighting style. They're going to have their own strengths and they're going to have their own weaknesses. That just is how it works. That goes for everybody. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses in certain areas. And the funny thing is when you actually think about it, RWBY is actually not really as weak as a lot of people have thought she was, because she went through this training obviously in Volume 5, if you think about it, and she seemed to obviously have a little bit of a hard time. But then again, thinking about this, she really doesn't need this hand-to-hand combat, because if you look at everything and you look at the way she's fought in the past, she's obviously been a very good leader. She's been very good at fighting with her allies, and she's actually done pretty well on her own at certain times. She's come up with pretty good strategies because she is pretty quick-minded. She has a good wit about her that whenever she's within certain situations, she's able to actually save herself at the moment that she needs to be saved. Of course, yeah, she's also fallen into some instances that have gotten her into a bit of trouble, but realistically, overall, for the most part, I would say she's done very well for herself. And Crow obviously did teach her very well. I mean, if you look at RWBY, she certainly is not a weak character. I mean, am I saying she's the strongest? No. Am I saying she's the weakest, though? No. I mean, she is actually at a pretty decent balance. But the thing is, obviously, Volume 5 did not really show much out of her other than trying to express the idea that she is not good at physical combat. And the training area that she actually should have been trained in was more so learning about, which I've said this before, but as a Silver Eyes. I think this would have been the perfect time, considering that obviously they're trying to, save the world, save mankind. And considering that that's the situation, this actually kind of asked for the Silver Eyes to actually be, taught and learned about. And the thing is, this obviously didn't happen, but I really feel like the training that RWBY got was certainly not something she needed. I mean, if it was more combat within weapons and things of the sort, I think this would have actually been very well to actually help her out, to understand other situations if in case she gets in some that are, that she wouldn't understand how to fight, for example. But if you actually look at this, the one time we do know that she couldn't fight physically, that was definitely proof, was whenever she was, fell into the hole in that crater to find out where the underground base was of Torchwick. And obviously, when you think about it, the White Fang member, she tried to punch him, didn't do anything, had no effect at all, and then he just knocks her straight out. Like, he knocks her on the ground, and then kicks her and knocks her out. And, of course, Torchwick did get the jump on her one time, which was in Volume 1, and that was because she was completely caught off guard, though. She didn't expect him to attack at that point. But realistically, she has not had that many problems within her fights. It's not really proving to be so much of a difficulty for her, because she's actually done very well for herself for the most part. And every instance that she's been in, or at least majority of the instances, she has had her weapon to actually help her. Like I said, there's, a couple of times that she hasn't. But we have to look back at Volume 1 for a minute. Volume 1, Chapter 1, when she first met Torchwick for the first time, she didn't just attack the enemy with her weapon. She actually used her body to actually fight as well. Like when she kicks one of the guys in the face when she's spinning around with the Crescent Rose, she actually hits him very hard. One of the lackeys that was following Torchwick. And thinking about this proves that Ruby certainly was not weak at all, and that she can fight very, very well. Now, one instance that she obviously had problems with was when she fought Torchwick and Neapolitan at the same time, but the thing of this is a 2-on-1 fight. Neo obviously has more experience than Ruby does. I mean, and she even beat her own sister, Yang, without any bit of a problem at all. So, if you actually think about it, Ruby was at a disadvantage fighting Neo. Now, when it comes more so to Torchwick, yeah, she would have had more of a chance, but the combo of the two of them, especially with Neo having more experience, just proved to be better than Ruby. And of course, without Ruby's quick thinking, Neo wouldn't have been sent flying away. So, thinking about this too, though, when Torchwick died, when he was eaten by the Grim Griffin, something you have to think about here is she drop kicks this Grim, and it goes flying into the command deck, which is kind of funny because that was her drop kicking a Grim into the command deck, blowing it up, and then her shortly after escaping. This is kind of a funny moment because saying that she doesn't have good skills outside of her weapon, well, drop kicking a creature and then it dies because it hits a command deck and explodes kind of tells you something. Other characters that really could have needed this training are someone like Jean, for example. Jean himself really needs it. I mean, he hasn't done half as much as any of the characters, or really even been that useful, to be honest. I mean, he's been there, and he started training, but that's not really enough. He hasn't done anything really worthy of noting other than saving Weiss from death. I mean, that's the only thing. When his semblance came to and he saved Weiss, that's the real big thing that really was something he's done that we can sit here and say that he's achieved, was he saved Weiss's life, but that's about it, really. What has he really done in fights that were really massive or game-changing? He's been there to help and he's assisted. He's done a little bit, but I mean, it's not like he was the one to be the absolute game changer, except for in the situation of saving Weiss's life. And another character, Weiss could have actually needed some of this training because in Volume 5, the sad thing is it really felt like her character had been brought down in comparison to what she used to know. And I really hate saying that because I enjoy Weiss, I really do. But when it came to fighting, Weiss just felt very lackluster, and it felt like she forgot almost everything she knew except for summoning, because she seemed so bent on trying to summon. And if you think about it, she just waves her sword around like it's a baton rather than really fighting with it. And I didn't really like that much. Because Weiss herself has a lot under her belt. She has several different abilities than just the summoning itself with her semblance, and just focusing solely alone upon the semblance was a problem, and then just not really attacking with her sword like she used to was another problem. So really, I think Weiss could have also used his training at this point if you actually think about it, if they're going to make her forget everything. But realistically, they need to just make her fight with her sword again like she used to. But the thing is, looking at it, Ruby is not as bad off within her fighting combat that she's led on to be, and I think the hand-to-hand combat really doesn't make as much sense as they're leading it on to, because with her weapon, she's done very well with the Crescent Rose. She's very well been good with it, and she's obviously proven that she can actually fight very well. I mean, drop kicking a Grim proves the point that she really doesn't need hand-to-hand combat as much as it's being led onto. Otherwise, if she needed it, then she wouldn't have done as well as she has in the past whenever it came to fighting. But anyways, let me know what you think down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, hit the video with a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and share this with your friends if you found this informative or useful. Well, anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful day, and remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you, and have a good one, everybody.